Good morning, children. Today again we will continue with the same topic, our changing earth. Exogenic forces. Exogenic refers to external processes and phenomena that occur on or above the earth's surface. Weathering, erosion, sedimentation, etc. are exogenic processes. Let us see these one by one. Weathering. Weathering is the breaking down of rocks into small pieces by various effects of nature like wind, water, temperature variations, etc. Second, erosion. Erosion is the removal of solids, sediment, soil, rock and other particles in the natural environment. It usually occurs due to transport by wind, water or ice. Third, sedimentation. Sedimentation is the collection and deposition of eroded and naturally transported material. Landforms are affected by movement of water as well as ice and wind. Waterfall. A waterfall is a place where flowing water rapidly drops from an elevation as it flows over a steep region or a cliff. This causes a lot of erosion. The tallest waterfall in the world with a fall of 807 meters is located in Venezuela. This waterfall is known as Angel Falls. Victoria Falls on the Zambezi rivers in Zambia is famous as the largest waterfall of the world. Although it is neither the highest nor the widest, it is considered the largest because of forming largest sheet of falling water. Water falls for 108 meters at the center. Features formed by a river. First, meanders. A meander in general is a bend in the course of the river. A large bend or loop in the course of a flowing river is known as meander. There could be a series of them at places, especially where hills start turning into plains. Oxbow Lake. An oxbow lake is a shallow U-shaped or C-shaped body of water formed when a wide meander from the main stream of a river is cut off to create a lake. This landform is called an oxbow lake for the distinctive curved shape that results from this process. Floodplain. Layers of fine soil and other sediments are deposited along the river banks because of flooding. This leads to the formation of floodplains. They are very fertile. Example is Indo-Gangetic floodplain. Levees. The raised banks of the river are called levees. It is a natural or artificial slope, embankment or wall to regulate water levels. It is usually earthen and often parallel to the course of a river. Delta. A delta is a landform that is created at the mouth of a river where that river flows into an ocean, sea, estuary, lake, etc. Deltas are usually formed at places where the slope of the riverbed becomes too shallow before it enters the seashore and the stream of water loses speed. This causes it to lose the sediments it had carried earlier. As the river flows in a relatively flat area, it forms large number of distributaries or streams, and the sediments keep collecting between these streams and landform shallow and forms shallow islands. This whole area is called a delta. Landforms created by sea waves. Ocean waves are caused by the wind as it blows across the surface of the water. Tides, waves and ocean currents make the ocean restless. Waves are powerful source of energy. Waves erode the coast and deposit the eroded debris at some other place. A number of topographical features are made by these waves. First one is sea caves. A sea cave is a type of cave formed primarily by the wave action of the sea. The primary process involved in is erosion in the rocky faces on the seashore. Sea arches and stack. A sea arch is a natural arch or bridge made of stone that has been created through the process of land, wind and water erosion. Over a period of time, a sea caves can convert into a sea arch with increased erosion in the rocks. Sea stack. A stack is a geological landform consisting of a steep and often vertical column or columns of rock in the sea near a coast. Stacks are formed when part of a main landform is eroded by water action or water crashing against the rock. Sea cliff and beaches. The sea water coast rising almost vertically above the sea water is called a sea cliff. Sea beaches. The span of the seashore, which is flat, and the waves leave behind sediments at these places in the form of fine sand are called beaches. Features formed by ice. First, glacier. A glacier is a large mass of ice like a frozen river moving slowly over some land surface or down a valley. In some areas, the amount of snowfall exceeds the amount that melts. This accumulated snow mass causes the formation of glaciers. There are some glaciers which have a thickness of nearly 200 meters of ice or nearly a 60-story buildings. Siachen Glacier on the borders of India in Jammu and Kashmir is also known as the world's highest battlefield. Glaciers are packed ice contain approximately 75% of fresh water of the world. 10% of the Earth's land area is covered by glaciers. Nearly 1 lakh glaciers are in Alaska and most of them do not have names. If all the glaciers are melted, sea level would rise by about 230 feet. Glacial moraines. As the mass of ice forming a glacier slides down, it erodes the soil and rock on the sides of the valley through which it passes. These soil and rock debris keep collecting and moving along with the mass of ice and is called glacial moraine. A moraine is any glacially formed accumulation of unconsolidated glacial debris like soil and rock which can occur in glaciated regions. Features formed by wind. Different kinds of landforms are shaped in areas where wind action is strong. Example in semi-arid and arid zones. First is mushroom rocks. The mushroom rocks are also called rock pedestals. They are one of the most striking manifestations of the processes of erosion and weathering, usually found in desert areas. The winds blowing at high speed erode the lower section of the rocks more than the upper portion. This happens as the sand particles blown along by the wind, being heavier, remain close to the surface, and as the wind passes along the rocks, the sand particles in the wind keep eroding the portion of the rock closer to the surface, while the upper portion is not affected as much. This gives the rocks a mushroom-like shape. Lois. When sand of very fine grain and light weight gets blown and subsequently gets deposited over a large area, it is called lois. Frequently, the resulting lois deposits are several meters thick. Such areas are found in certain regions of China. Sand dunes. Sand is formed by continuous erosion of rock surface affected by fast blowing winds. This sand gets transported by wind, and wherever the wind loses velocity, the sand gets deposited and forms a hillock of sand called a dune. Dunes are subject to different forms and sizes based on their interaction with the wind. Most kinds of dune are longer on the windward side, where the sand is pushed up the dune, and shorter in the leeward side.